you there? Are we live?
It looks like it.
Second. 1 second, guys. I'm live. It's like some poor connection on my end. Oh. 1 second. Can anybody in the chat hear me? Anybody in the chat hear me? Yes or no? I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me now? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Nothing. 1 second. What's going on? Okay, we can hear you. Okay. My bad, guys. I don't know what's going on with my connection. But, yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. We're going to be talking some UFC Vegas 28. We have Jairzinho Rozenstruik going against Augusto Sakai, going to be talking about some DFS, talking about some betting. And I brought Uncle Weezy. I brought Uncle Weezy here. He's somebody that I've known for a little bit now. He's really good with all the stats and stuff. I'll kind of tell you more about it. But, yeah, what's up, Uncle Weezy? I've been wanting to get you on for a long time. How you doing?
Dude, I've been wanting to come on for a long time. Thanks for having me, man. I'm ready to talk about some fights tonight. We got 14 of them here to talk about. I got a ton of numbers on all of them, man. I'm ready to get into it. Thanks for having me on, bro.
No problem. Is my mic sounding okay, Uncle Weezy, or no?
You sound pretty good, man. How about me?
You sound good to me. Somebody said my mic is AIDS. Maybe they're just trolling there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. If you guys could hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really does help out quite a bit. Going live every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time here on Pub Sports Radio as well. The Panda says much better. So what's up, everybody in the chat? How you doing? Everybody's saying all good. DFS Go, appreciate that. What's up, Spencer in the chat? Let's get it, boys. I agree. Let's get it. Grateful dude. First one in here. Looking forward to a great weekend of fights. I'm right there with you. Pretty good card, 14-fight card. Should be a great opportunity to make some money. Combat Sports Geek, Uncle Weezy, let's make some money, guys. I agree, let's make some money. All right, so we'll kind of jump right into it here. You sound like money. Appreciate that. Don't worry, your mic's good. I hope so. This mic was pretty expensive. So hopefully it's good. All right, anyway. So we'll get into the first fight of the night. And like I said, we'll talk some DraftKings. We'll talk some betting as well. We have Jordan Levitt going against Claudio Puelas. We have Levitt, who is 9,000 on DraftKings, and Puelas, who is 7,200. For me, I don't know Uncle Weezy's thoughts. We're about to ask him. But for me, man, I hate this fight. I don't know what to do. I've been going back and forth on it all week. Uncle Weezy, how are you feeling about this fight? You have a strong lean on this one?
Dude, I don't really have a strong lean on this one. You know, I mean, I've been listening to what other people have been saying about this one. Puelas, he's got a little more experience than Levitt. We know that Levitt's a really good grappler. We know that he's really slick on the ground and he does things differently than most grapplers. So he's had a lot of success, but what do we know about him, really? You know, I mean, the tape that I've seen on him, I mean, he put Wyman out in, what, 30 seconds? Yeah. And Wyman's, you know, he's old. He's over the hill. And then before that, you know, we had a Contender Series fight where he submitted a guy pretty quickly. It was slick, though. I mean, that arm triangle he caught that dude with was really nice. You know, Levitt's really slick on the ground, but so is Puelas, too. So, I see two really crafty grapplers, but the one thing that I do see is some people are saying that the striking of these two guys is the same. I don't agree with that at all, man. I mean, Jordan Levitt, I mean, I'd say his striking is awful, but how do you even know? I mean, he doesn't throw any strikes. He just strictly tries to get to the fight to the ground. And I'd feel a lot better about betting Levitt if I knew that he was going to go right out there and do that. And I think he will. But he's been talking about how he's going to show off his striking. Man, if I had a bet on Jordan Levitt and then I heard an interview where he said he was going to work on his striking, man, my sphincter would get about that small. I would be absolutely terrified. So I think both of these guys, you know, I mean, I think for Levitt, his best path to victory is going to be the grappling, but I think Puelas is going to be miles ahead of him on the feet. So if you think, you know, Puelas has a chance to take this thing or keep this thing on the feet, I think he'll probably tag Levitt, really beat him up. But the thing that I'm worried about is that Levitt, here's something I found out when I was watching his Contender Series fight. He took 3rd place in state in Nevada in high school wrestling. So he does have a wrestling background. If he wants to get the fight to the ground, which is where he's at his best, he's going to be able to get it there. So, you know, I'm leaning Levitt here, but I don't know what to think. Puelas coming off like a 2.5-year layoff. He's young. He can make improvements. I don't know anything about Levitt's striking. man, I don't know, dude. For DraftKings, I'll probably have some Levitt. I'll probably punt a little bit with Puelis, but I'm probably going to be under-owned to it.
Yeah, man, it's a shit show, man.
It is.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. As far as DraftKings goes, 9,000. I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel like this fight could be somewhat important. And you mentioned it, Levitt. I mean, everything about him, the guy's just horrible. But when he does go to the mat, like, he does show some good things, and that's why ultimately I am siding with him. It's just Puelis in those 2 years, he could make improvements. I mean, on paper, he's a brown belt. On paper, Levitt's a purple belt. I would give the grappling advantage to Levitt there, but I don't know. We don't know about the improvements of Puelis. So I'm kind of with you. I'll play some Levitt. I'll play some Puelis. Yeah. You got to be somewhat a crazy to kind of bet on this fight. I mean, Levitt minus 210. I would never ever bet on Levitt at, you know, as a favorite ever, let alone minus 210. And there's people going around there saying they have him parlayed. I'm like, oh, come on, don't do that. I mean, he has a good chance of winning. It's just I would not trust him. So as far as this goes, I'll pick Levitt because I think he's the better grappler, and I think that's where this fight plays out. But you said if Levitt wants to test out his striking, it's going to be a long night for him. I mean, the guy's not great, but yeah, crapshoot of a fight. I'll take Levitt. We'll move on. We'll go into a more exciting fight I'm looking forward to a little bit more. It's going to be Sean Woodson going against Youssef Zalal. Sean Woodson, 28 years old. Youssef Zalal, 24 years old. And we take a look at the DraftKings salaries. We have Woodson 8,800 and Zalal is 7,400. So, yeah, for me, I'm kind of leaning on the Zalal side. This is another line, just like the last one, where I think the line's off. I think Zalal, if he does go to that wrestling, that grappling, that we have seen Woodson taken down. We've seen Woodson controlled. And Zalal, we have seen him go for takedowns. Against Lingo, he had 6 takedowns. He had like 3 or 4 takedowns against Slippery Pete Barrett. He just had 3 takedowns against Sung-Woo Choi. So if he can get the fight down to the mat, I think he can have a lot of success. So for me, on DraftKings, I'm kind of looking more at the Zalal side, because if he does win, it's going to be based off of those takedowns, control time. But as far as Woodson goes, I don't really love the price. And if he does win, he's probably not knocking out Zalal. Zalal has a chin on him. He's probably not taking Zalal down, getting control time takedowns. So for me, this is a dog or pass situation on DraftKings. And even from a betting standpoint, I think the line's off. So what are you looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, you and I agreed earlier last week that the line was off. I've got a 1-unit bet on Zalal at plus 188 here. There's value there. You know, Zalal's the younger fighter here. He's 24, so he's still, you know, making improvements. Woodson, really long, you know, 6'2" as compared to 5'10" for Zalal. He's got a 4-inch height advantage. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage. You know, and Woodson's got a really good boxing background. But we saw in that Rosa fight that his punches don't seem to hurt. You know, it seems like you can walk through those punches and really kind of pressure him, get him to the ground. But Woodson does have good takedown defense. I mean, I'm looking at the matchup stats right now, and I see that Woodson has defended 21 of 27 takedowns successfully for 77.78%. So you know that these tall guys are hard to take down. But Woodson has only spent 0.24% of his UFC time controlling his opponents, while he's been controlled 16.45% of the time. So when we look at this matchup, we see that Zalal does have a path to victory with using the wrestling, trying to get this fight to the ground, using the grappling. But if this fight stays standing, Woodson's got the reach advantage. He's got the height advantage. He's got the boxing advantage. He's got the volume advantage. So if Zalal wants to win this fight, he's going to have to make it dirty. He's going to have to try to take this guy down over and over again. And he's had a full camp, and he's got great conditioning. Yeah. So this is something, you know, there is a path to victory here for Zalal. I'm picking him, but, you know, Woodson's going to be difficult to take down, and, you know, he's not just going to lie on his back either. So, you know, Zalal's going to really have to scrap to make this work, but I could see both of these guys scoring well for DraftKings. You know, if Woodson does get the decision victory here, he could pile up a lot of strikes.
Lots of volume.
You know, he's landing 6.4 significant strikes per minute as opposed to 2.45 for Zalal. So, you know, it's a pretty clear path here, you know, for Zalal to use his grappling. And if he's unable to do that, you know, Woodson should be able to pick him apart.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely agree. And you brought up something that's very important. I think people should know that, you know, we know Zalal as, you know, the guy that's taken fights on short notice. You know, he took a bunch of fights on short notice, but now he gets that full camp, you know. So I do think he's going to be prepared. I do think we probably see the best Zalal. And yeah, I mean, striker versus grappler, Zalal needs to get this fight down to the mat or he's going to lose. So Yeah, I'm with you. I like Zalal as well. I do have a bet on him. We'll kind of take a look at the betting line. I guess he opened up at plus 200 on some books. My goodness, what I love that line. But yeah, we got a good line ourselves there. So some money's coming in on Zalal. Honestly, I thought there'd be more money coming in. Maybe there is some throughout the week, but yeah, the pick for me is Zalal. And as far as DraftKings, I'm more on the Zalal side as well myself. So we'll hit up the chat right here real quick, and then we'll get to the next fight. Austin says Zalal's way more skilled than he fights. He is so patient. Sometimes Sean Woodson is kind of the opposite. Yeah, I agree. But hopefully he needs to go for takedowns here. I mean, he has in the past, so you got to think he does here. Give us a 2-fight parlay. Okay, I'll give you one. I like give me De La Rosa and give me Mason Jones. Def Zalal, 2-fight parlay. I give you a 2-fight parlay. If Zalal utilizes his skill set, he's the value. Big, he just waits a lot. Yeah. No bet here. Good fight to strikers. I like Jones and Manon Fiorot. Decent value there. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about them. So we'll get into the next fight here, which is Manon Fiorot. And me and Uncle Weezy, I think Uncle Weezy especially is a big fan of Manon Fiorot. He'll definitely tell you about it. But we have Fiorot. She is 8,500. Moroz is 7,700. I remember her last fight against Leonardo. I forget what exactly she scored, but she scored a ton. And I remember being all over her. I had a bet on her as well. And yeah, I'm kind of going back to her here I'm going back with her here again. I just think, the striking, you got to favor Manon Fiorot. You take a look at Moroz, her striking defense is just not there, 53%. The volume's definitely there, but who's going to be having the harder shots? It's definitely going to be on the Fiorot side. And I guess the one thing I was concerned about going into it was, Fiorot's potential takedown defense. But you take a look at her MMA debut, which was against Leah McCourt, who is a 145er. Fiorot's a 125er. That fight was at 138-pound catchweight, and it was her debut. So we got to kind of cut her some slack. I think she has been improving that takedown defense. And even then, like Moroz, and I'm sure Uncle Weaves will bring us some stats, but her wrestling is just not great. I think you'll talk about it, Weezy, but her wrestling is not great at all. She was like 1 for 9 on takedowns against Sabina Maza, who has no takedown defense, no ground game. I just think the harder shots are going to be coming from Fiorot. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a finish as well. So give me Fiorot here as well. 8,500. I like it. I like it. I think there's going to be a ton of volume, and I think she has potential to get a finish. So what about you, Uncle Weezy?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely on Fiorot here. I've got a 2-unit straight bet on her at -160. I think there's a lot to like about this woman. She is really well-rounded. But let's get into some of the technical aspects before we get into the numbers here. And something that I found very interesting. Now, we know that Fiorot is a southpaw. If you look on UFCstats.com, though, they have her listed as an orthodox fighter. She's not an orthodox fighter. She's definitely a southpaw. She fights out of a karate stance. We know those karate fighters are very hard to hit. Whether it's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Machida back in his days as a champion. Fiorot is the same way. She's got 79% striking defense, okay? And we know that Moroz has a boxing background, and boxers set up all their strikes with their jab. Well, Marina Moroz has never fought a southpaw. Do you believe that?
No.
Eight UFC fights, she's never once fought a southpaw. And boxers, they have to use that jab in order to set up the rest of their strikes. Well, when you're fighting a southpaw, your jab almost becomes useless because your opponent's front hand is blocking your jab, so you can't really get it out there. Well, Fiorot has 79% striking defense, and Marina Moroz has the second worst striking accuracy in the flyweight division. I mean, 31% for Moroz. That's like she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. Okay, and then the only person lower than Moroz in striking offense is Roxanne Modafferi at like 30%. Okay, so Moroz, not only is she not an accurate striker, not only is she going to be striking against a lefty, which she has never fought before, not only is her jab not going to work as well as it normally does, now you got to deal with somebody who's going to be side kicking you, keeping good distance, and Fiorot has straight power too. She's mean. She hits hard. Marina Moroz has landed 436 significant strikes in the UFC, not one knockdown. So, there's a ton of problems here for Moroz. Now, the level of competition is the big advantage for Moroz here. She has wins over Mayra Bueno Silva, Sabina Mazo, Danielle Taylor. She has wins over Calderwood in her debut. She caught an armbar from guard. So this is a step up in competition for Manon, but I really think that she's going to handle it very well, and we're going to have a new hot prospect after Saturday night in the women's flyweight division. And I think Manon Fioros are really going to open some eyes here.
Yeah, I like it, and I 100% agree with everything you're saying. You brought up some points that, man, I wasn't even thinking about. So even better, like, yeah, the one thing you give Rose is going to be that level of competition, but it doesn't mean, you know, Fioro can't beat her just because of the level of competition. That's just one factor, but you got to look at everything else. And I think we brought up a lot of good points, and yeah, I'm definitely with you as well. Yeah. Gino says, but whiffing punches in the women's division scores points in the judges' eyes. That's true, because they make a lot of noises as if they're hitting something. That is true. But you got to think, like, Mannon's going to be throwing the harder shots. They're going to be, you know, get reactions out of Moroz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and don't forget, dude, she's Chukagian loud when she strikes too. She's ki-eyeing all the time. So
yeah,
you know, she even if she's not hitting her, it's gonna sound like she is.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
How many underdogs? We'll talk about. I'm picking a couple underdogs. Weezy, you taking any dogs this week? I'm sure you.
Yeah, I'm already on Zalal, but you know, I'm still looking at some other spots here. You know, we'll get into it a little bit later on, but you know, you can never really shy away from all the dogs. You got to find the ones that you think have a chance. You know, you find those 50-50 fights where you're getting plus money on a fighter, and I'm sure we'll find a couple more here as we go on. But I'm definitely on Zalal already.
Yep, I like it. CA, I'm taking Moroz because it's women's MMA. There you go. Everyone's favorites odds suck. Fair enough. Moroz strikes like Chukagian, whiffs with noise. Yeah, she does whiff a ton. We went over that. I mean, 31%, second worst in the division. JP says, like Fioro, but Moroz hasn't ever been finished. No, she has not. So as far as DK, I think she could score enough to be in the optimal if she can't finish Moroz. What do you think? Do you think if Fioro goes to decision with Moroz, it's all on the feet, she outstrikes her, lands the harder shots, doesn't knock her down, doesn't knock her out. Do you think at her price tag she could score enough to get in the optimal lineup?
Potentially, yes. I mean, if we look at Moroz and Fioro, Fioro in her last fight, 5.8 significant strikes per minute and 4.09 for Moroz. So if it's going to just be a striking battle, there needs to be volume, right? I mean, it's the only way you're really going to get a chance to get an optimal lineup. But this, you know, Fioro, another thing they don't know about her, every fight that she's ever won, she's had a takedown in. So this fight probably won't be just a striking affair. You know, Fioro can get takedowns, so can Moroz. So, but Moroz 4 of 22 on her takedowns in the UFC for 18.18%. That's not impressive.
Yeah, I'm showing it here. And she also has a 47% takedown defense.
Yeah, 10 of 19. She's only defended 9 of 19 takedowns successfully. So if Manon doesn't like how it's going on the feet, but I don't necessarily predict that that's what's going to happen, she can take it to the ground too. Yeah. She's really well-rounded. That's why I'm, you know, I really think she's going to open some eyes.
No, I'm 100% with you there. But yeah, well, I know we're looking forward to that fight, but I'm also looking forward to this next one here. We have another prospect, Mason Jones, going against Alan Patrick, and we have a Jones 9,500 on DraftKings. Patrick is 6,700. Yeah, for me, I'll tell you guys right now, I'm really high on Mason Jones in general, and then I'm really high on him in this spot. It's just Patrick, 37 years old, about to be 38. And you go and look at the tape on this guy. This guy has not looked great since like 2018, 2017. It's been a while since we've seen him look decent. And nowadays, every time he's getting touched, he's getting wobbled. Bobby Green hurt him a couple times. Scott Holtzman knocked him out. And we've seen Mason Jones in his last fight, like he hits like a truck. And I think Mike Davis might be able to, you know, take some of those shots, but I would be shocked if Patrick could take some of these shots. I guess the only thing I'm worried about is, you know, Patrick, very, very good wrestler. Jones can be taken down, but there wasn't really any time where I've seen Jones really held down. If he does get taken down, he's really good at getting back up. And you got Patrick, who he just doesn't set any takedowns up. He goes right to the takedowns. And if it does hit the mat, Patrick's a black belt, but Mason Jones is a black belt himself, so I don't think he's a fish out of water. I just like the matchup quite a bit for Jones, and I would honestly be shocked if this fight was not a knockout win for Jones. I think Patrick's chin's not there. Both of his losses, I think all three of his losses, no, two out of three of his losses have been by knockout. The one decision was by Bobby Green, and then Bobby Green did hurt him a couple times in that fight. So I like Jones. The price tag, it does scare me a little bit, but I would be shocked if he didn't finish Patrick here. What about you?
Yeah, me too, man. Jones is a stud. That fight against Mike Davis was an all-timer, man. That was like one of the best fights of 2020. And that or was it 2021? I don't even remember. Was that this year?
I think it was this year. I think it was early this year.
Yeah, I think it was early this year, but man, was that a hell of a fight. And, you know, if halfway through the first round, Patrick would have been on his ass looking up at the lights wondering what happened, man. I mean, that He's 37 years old. And, you know, if we look at Patrick's numbers, right, 42% control time in his UFC tenure, 16% that he has been controlled. So almost 2/3 of his fights, and there have been 8 of them, take place on the cage or with somebody's backup on the mat. You know, and that's his only path to victory here. But wrestling's exhausting. You know, wrestling's exhausting for a 21-year-old. When you're 37, you know, it's bad. And Jones is somebody that you mentioned it when we were talking about this fight earlier in the week, that he makes people pay for takedowns.
Yes.
And boy, is that a bad recipe for an old man like Patrick, who hasn't won in a while. He really does rely on getting takedowns and control time in order to get a win. Boy, this is going to be rough. You know, and Mason Jones was taken down 3 times by Davis in their fight, but yet he was only controlled 5% of the fight. So if we're talking about a 900-second fight, 5% is 45 seconds, 3 takedowns. He was only controlled for 15 seconds per takedown, you know? So even if Patrick does get him down, Mason's either going to probably hurt him with some Travis Brown elbows, or he's just going to keep getting up until Patrick gasses, and then he's going to knock him out. You know, maybe you have some Patrick in Draftkings if you think that he actually can stick to Jones for 3 rounds, but boy, I don't like the chances of that happening.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. And Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast brought this point up yesterday on his show. He said that, you know, judges nowadays, they're not really scoring the takedowns, the control time. They're more so scoring the damage. And he said that, you know, Patrick probably does get him down a couple times, but it's going to be those couple hard shots. It's going to be those wobbles. It's going to be those knockdowns that really do win the fight for Jones.
Yeah, and that's a great observation, because, you know, that has how things have been going lately. You know, the judges are scoring damage. They're not really respecting the takedowns. So if you're on the side of what you think might be a close fight, and you're taking the guy that's going to, you know, spam takedowns and maybe not get a lot of control time, you know, chances are when the judges hand in their scorecards, you're going to be on the wrong side of it.
Yep, exactly. But we'll go through the chat real quick. Jones earned a lot of respect against my semi-local boy, Mike Davis. Yeah, I'm huge on Mike Davis. Kids, legit boxing is my love, and he's from the gym Tyson learned in. Kevin Rooney worked with Davis and not AT&T. Jones, tough. Yep, yeah. Jones is tough. Mason is too much of a favorite. You got to look at the props here. Actually, I did play him straight. I laid the juice, and honestly, it's my heaviest play of the year on Mason Jones, but I got him at -245. We'll take a look what the odds are now. Honestly, I thought the line would get even wider. It's -300. I got him at -245. That's not terrible. But yeah, like -300 right now. It's not terrible.
Yeah, you got to love beating that line movement.
Oh, yeah. He's not too much of a favorite for 2-legger. I mean, I wouldn't hate anybody for parlaying Mason Jones. I mean, it's better than parlaying Jordan Levitt and Tom Breese.
Oh, hell yeah. I've got him to parlay too, man. Yeah.
Fade Jones. I wouldn't fade him. I know he's expensive. Maybe that lowers his ownership a little bit, but I really do think he can finish Patrick here. What about you?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely agree, man. And not only that, it's the volume, too. 7.8 significant strikes per minute he landed against Davis, and he lost.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can score plenty of you can score plenty of points like that. And you know, one of the things that I calculate on the DraftKings tab on your model is how many points somebody scores per minute outside of wins and losses. And you know, you can look at a performance like Mason Jones, 3.76 DraftKings points per minute. That's very high. You know, and he allowed 4.02. So, you know, this is, you know, and that was in a fight where he only got 1 takedown. You know, so
oh yeah, you could
score a ton of points just striking, as long as you're putting out crazy volume like was going out in that Davis Jones fight. And Jones, you know, Jones is tough. Yeah, he could knock him out. He could return value with a striking match too. You know, just he throws a lot of volume out there.
Yeah, I like it. Is Mason the safest play on the card? I'd say so. PayPal says damage control. Love it. I love it as well. Everyone who bet Mike Davis versus Jones last time out was like, Mason Jones seems legit. Jones by KO. Yep. And I don't know. I got a sneaky feeling Manon will be the easiest money on the card. Hey, she could be in hindsight. Spencer's loving it. Jones inside the distance. Yeah, I'd say Jones inside the distance. Knockout potentially. Styles make matchups. Stop looking heavy into Davis's versus Jones bout. I mean, no, you can look through all the fights. It's Jones. It's hard to take him down, and if he does get taken down, he pops right up. Gaming Wolf loving it. Thanks, Uncle. Cash Lando over Grundy. Just because Grundy got Evloev down doesn't mean he will do that against anyone. I don't really see how that pertains to this matchup, but job on your Cash. All right, we'll get into the next fight here. We have Montana De La Rosa going against Ariane Lipski. De La Rosa 9,300, Lipski 6,900. Honestly, for me, I'll say right now, if it's not Mason Jones, I think De La Rosa is probably as ugly as it sounds. I know everybody thinks De La Rosa sucks, but stylistically, I think this is a phenomenal matchup for De La Rosa. And I'm sure Weezy is going to get into the stats and all that. And basically, you know, we've seen Lipski taken down. We've seen her taken down twice by the boxer and Molly McCann. We saw her dominated by the striker and Antonina Shevchenko, and that's pretty much what did it for me. Montana De La Rosa, wrestling background, a BJJ brown belt, maybe a BJJ black belt, but you know, a great grappler nonetheless. She's finished about 75% of her wins by submission as well. I think she takes down Lipski no problem. Maybe Lipski stuffs a couple takedowns, but you know, she's a chain wrestle. She gets it down to the mat, and I do think at some point, I think a submission could actually become. Could come out of this fight. I think De La Rosa could submit Ariane Lipski. It's just seeing how easily Antonina was able to dominate her. Antonina Shevchenko, the bad Shevchenko, and which, like I said in my prediction video today, that really overrated Antonina. We thought, hey, she made a ton of improvements, and then we thought that maybe she can go out there and, you know, use that against Andrea Lee, but no, it was more so because Lipski's not that great. So give me De La Rosa, 9,300. I actually love this on DraftKings because I think she's going to go for takedowns and a lot of them, and I think she's going to get a lot of control time, and I think she probably finishes her as well. So give me De La Rosa on DraftKings. I mean, the money line's interesting because I got her a while ago. This is just getting insane, to be honest. Minus 255. It's getting crazy. But if you do like her as a parlay piece, I think that's fine. So, Uncle Weezy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on this one. You know, this is a striker versus grappler matchup here. It's a very clear-cut striker versus grappler. You see Montana De La Rosa lands 2.85 strikes per minute and absorbs 3.39. So that's kind of a red flag. She's not great on the feet. Lipski lands 3.03 significant strikes per minute and absorbs 4.45. So that's even more of a red flag. But the thing about Lipski is that she's got elite power for the women's flyweight division. When I sorted the statistics earlier today, Lipski has the #1 knockdown per significant strikes landed percentage in the women's flyweight division at 0.6%. So this is a pretty clear fight to handicap. If it stays standing, De La Rosa is probably getting knocked out or hurt. If it goes to the ground, De La Rosa will dominate. Well, let's look at the grappling stats. De La Rosa, 39.62% control time and only been controlled 8.46% of the time, while Lipski has 24.5% control time and has been controlled 31.48% of the time. And then we got that horrible visual in the last fight, you know, where she got absolutely dominated by a striker. Montana De La Rosa is way better on the ground than Lipski's last opponent, and she's going to show it here. She's got a high school wrestling background. She was wrestling boys in Texas. You know, she knows how to get people to the ground, and she should be able to get this fight to the ground easily. She should be able to rack up a lot of control time and even potentially get a sub. And Ariane Lipski has lost 23% of her losses have been by submission. So there's a clear path to victory here for both fighters, in my opinion. You know, if Montana decides to try to strike with Ariane Lipski, she could wind up in some serious trouble. Like I say, tops in the flyweight division for power. So I am leaning De La Rosa heavily here. I think she is a smart fighter, and she's not going to waste time on the feet here. Get this thing to the ground, rack up control time, either win by decision or get a sub.
I like it. I don't like how the sub prop's only plus 335. Come on, guys, give us more than that. But
I know, man, it's ridiculous, right? You know, there's no value in it, but you still want to bet it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the FanDuel Sport. I haven't checked the FanDuel Sportsbook, but maybe I was thinking like plus 500. I might take a shot on the Rosa by sub. Could be something to look at.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got in the chat real quick. Montana just needs to improve her striking. That's all. I love her ground game. Yeah, her striking is actually looking a little bit better as of late. Hopefully she keeps making those improvements. She's very young, 25 years old. Danny Betts, what's up, Danny? In the house, how you doing? De La Rosa is hoping for a finish in an interview. Yeah, I mean, I think the sub prop could be something to look at. I think it's sneaky. Uncle Weezy, Sosa showing some love. What's up, Boston Nick in the house? How you doing, Boston Nick? Actually think the striking's close. I mean, I don't think Lipski's over. Yeah, like I said, I think she's overrated a little bit, but I still got to favor the striking towards Lipski. But I don't know, maybe De La Rosa is making more improvements and stuff like that. But she does want to get this fight down to the mat. Smash that like. I agree. Let's get those likes up. Let's do it. And then we will get into our next fight. All right. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about this fight too much. Makwan Amirkhani, Kamela Kirk. We have Amirkhani, who is 9,400, Kirk 6,800. For me, this is like, I don't know. Both these guys are very similar in their skill set. Both guys are black belts. Both guys, you know, their striking's not great. Both guys, their cardio's not great. I mean, they're like carbon copies of each other. It's just Makwan's the more talented. He's a little bit better of a striker. He's a, you know, much better grappler. He's a better wrestler. So although they're similar, I just think Makwan's better everywhere. Level of competition. So at first I was like, man, this line, yeah, this line's probably off, -300 Makwan. But I guess you could justify it. I'm not going to be parlaying him or anything like that, but I do think he wins. As far as DraftKings goes, I have some interest. I mean, if he does get this fight down to the mat, he can potentially find a submission. I just don't know. That price tag's tough. I'd rather go up and get like a Mason Jones or a De La Rosa personally, but I think I'll have some Makwan. As far as Kamela Kirk, it's just, I don't see myself playing much of him, if any at all. He's not going to, you know, have success on the mat against Makwan, you wouldn't think, and I don't think he's going to have success striking as well. So give me Makwan. Yeah, what do you think about this one?
You know, it's I like Amirkhani quite a bit here, actually. Kirk's been fighting in LFA. He's been doing very well there. But when you look at Makwan Amirkhani's record, you see there are some things that kind of like stick out. And if I go to the advanced stats, you know, we can look at his numbers, but even if you just look at the last 5, you know, wins over Chris Fishgold, Jason Knight, and Danny Henry. You know, you don't really, none of those names really stick out. But then if you look at his losses in the UFC, and there's only 3 of them, they're to Edson Barbosa, Shane Burgos, and Arnold Allen. You know, so Makwan is only losing to the elite, you know, the top 15 featherweights. Yeah. And he's beating guys that aren't even really top 30. You know, so Kamela Kirk kind of fits into the type of fighter that Amirkhani beats. And Amirkhani actually did okay standing with Barboza. Yeah, he got knocked down 3 times. Okay, yeah, but it's Edson Barboza. And Kamela Kirk is not Edson Barboza on the feet.
No.
But if you watch that fight, Amirkhani actually had some success in the first round. But, you know, Amirkhani's a lefty. He has got an absolutely ridiculous anaconda choke, and he can set it up from anywhere. If you look at the one that he got against Danny Henry, he went for like a cheeky guillotine and then just switched it up and immediately had that anaconda, and he put him to sleep so fast that Henry didn't even have time to chat. He caught Fishgold with that same choke. I think he's going to catch Kirk with that choke. I'm calling Amirkhani by anaconda choke here, and I'm going to call it first round. I just, you know, Kirk kind of fits the mold of the type of fighter that Makwan Amirkhani has been beating ever since he's been in the UFC. I don't see why this one will be any different. I just see a clear grappling advantage for Amirkhani on the ground, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. Yeah, I think a submission's very live, although Kirk's a black belt. I just think the level between the two and the grappling's insane. I'm fading this fight, and not a bad thing to do there. Love Makwan here. I think it's a typical short notice fighter, biting a little more than they can chew. I agree. Goes to decision. Maybe. I mean, it could. Maybe if their black belts cancel each other out. I just think that Makwan is like legitly better than him at grappling. I have heard people taking Kirk here. Why? I feel like this is Makwan all day. He lost to Burgos and Barbosa. This is a step up in competition. Yeah, I don't know. BP does not know as well. Submission, decision, double chance. Yeah, if you can get a good line on that, I think it's those are the 2 likely scenarios: either a Makwan decision or submission.
Yeah.
I'm fading the chick fight before this one. I'll take Amir. I'm with you. I'll take Amir. Yeah, Makwan loses to strikers, but Kirk isn't the fighter that will put him in enough danger on the feet. Oh, not at all. Not at all. And yeah, BP does agree. He'll submit Kirk. I agree as well. Wish we had the submission prop. Wish we had it. We don't, but if it hits something nice, maybe take a shot at it. I do see. We did. I skipped a couple fights. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with? All right, we'll go to the. Man, I skipped 2. I skipped 2. Okay, we'll talk about Muslim Salikov going against Francisco Trinaldo. We have a Salikov 9,100. Trinaldo is 7,100. Not much to say about this fight. For me, I'm crossing it off my DraftKings. I'm not playing Salikov. I'm not playing Trinaldo. As far as a bet, I think the line probably too wide, but I do think Salikov wins just by doing a bit more the flashier strikes. He's the younger fighter. Trinaldo is about to be 43. Give me Salikov as far as a pick. Yeah, not touching it from a betting perspective. And I'm probably fading this fight in DraftKings.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about this one. This is a fight that's really more for the ladies, isn't it? A couple of handsome devils going at it here with Trinaldo and Salikov. Boy, you know, 42 years old, 36 years old. You take a look at these dudes' faces, and it'd be impossible to come to any other conclusion that they have been punched in the face their entire life. Trinaldo looks like he got a fire put out on his face with a screwdriver. And Salikov looks like he got hit in the face with a hot shovel. But they're tough. Dude, they're just tough. They're veterans. These guys are absolute career fighters. They're both tough as nails. But here's the thing. You know, these guys' output is absolutely terrible on DraftKings. So this is not one you want much exposure to in DraftKings. I made a couple notes here. Francisco Trinaldo over his career only scores 2.38 DraftKings points per minute outside of wins and losses, and only allows 2.32, while Salikov only scores 1.85 DraftKings points per minute and only allows 1.43. So both of these guys are great kickboxers. There's probably not going to be a lot of wrestling, and those types of fights we want to avoid anyway with the new DraftKings scoring system. They're both low output. They both got knockout power, so there could be an early finish if one of these guys lands a flush shot. But really, man, I don't know. This does not scream the type of fight that you want to be overexposed to, or even exposed with the crowd. I would think you'd be underexposed to this fight. I'm leaning Salikov just because he's the more explosive striker and he's younger. But I'm staying away, man. And 9,100 for Salikov, no chance. I am not getting there, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody in the chat asked, the fight goes to decision. I mean, maybe it's -175. I don't have access to that line. Uncle Weezy, yeah, like Uncle Weezy said, both guys have a lot of power. Salikov, both of his losses have been by submission. Trinaldo has never been knocked out, and the dude's 43. So I could see it going to decision. I could see it being a very boring decision as well. BP likes Trinaldo. I mean, maybe. I mean, I was thinking maybe he could take down. He could take down Uncle Weezy dog there. All good, Weezy. I think he could take down Salikov, but I don't even know. I don't think he has the gas tank to do that. Would it be a dog or a pass for me personally? Yeah, it could be. Talking about that, probably this fight goes to decision. I agree there, but yeah, I mean, nothing to do with it. This is probably the fight on the card where I'm like, probably my least exposed fight on DraftKings. What about you?
Second least exposed, probably until we talk about the kings of no volume, which are Boser and Latifi. But yeah, man, this one and Boser and Latifi are the ones that I will be staying as far away from as possible.
Yeah, speaking of that, we'll talk about it right now. Boser, Latifi. We have Boser 8,900. Latifi is 7,300. And for me, yeah, this is going to be a dog or pass, especially from a DraftKings standpoint. There is no way I am paying $8,100 for Boser, who, like you mentioned, very low volume and not much finishing ability as well. I know he's got a couple finishes over some bums, but just no finishing ability. I don't really see him finishing Ilir. As far as Ilir, I might have some Ilir here, 7,300, just based off the fact that if he does win, it's going to be based off of him, getting takedowns, getting control time. But it's hard to trust him. The guy has no gas tank, so even if he does, look good for maybe 1 or 2 rounds, win those first 2 rounds, I just don't see him, scoring a ton. So this definitely could be a fight you can just cross off. If anything, I'll play some Latifi, but I'm just not overly excited about it. As far as a pick goes, I'll take Latifi because I do think he can maybe clinch up Boser, take him down. I've seen Boser taken down. I've seen him clinched up, stuck against the cage. I've seen him stuck off his back. So I can see that happening. But as far as DraftKings, it's probably a dog or pass for me as well.
Yeah, in DraftKings, this is without question dog or pass because Boser just doesn't score enough in order to what's his salary? 8,900, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, there's no way, man. He's about 75 points in a win on a good day, so you don't want to get that guy. And then, but Latifi, 24.86% control time and only been controlled 1.86% of the time. So that's what you want to see when you see like a striker versus grappler matchup like this. You want to see somebody like Latifi that controls his opponents more than he gets controlled. We haven't seen Boser taken down in the UFC. 0 of 2 his opponents have been on their takedown attempts. But look, Latifi has 43 takedown attempts in 13 fights. So, you know, I mean, Tanner Boser is going to see more takedown attempts in the first round of his fight than he's seen in his entire UFC career. And he's going to have to defend takedowns. And if you thought he was low volume when he wasn't defending takedowns, boy, is he going to be low volume when he is. So dog or pass on at the sports book, dog or pass on I think I'll have Latifi in some lineups for sure, because there's some wrestling upside, some control time upside, and potentially even gets a submission if he can work his ground game. But yeah, man, I am not touching Tanner Boser with a 10-foot pole.
I say it could be probably the easiest fade on the card for me is Tanner Boser at that price tag. Salakov's up there as well, but I just don't really see any reason to play Boser unless he somehow gets a first-round knockout. I just don't think that's too likely here. Spencer says, do you think either of these guys can get a first-round finish? I don't know if you're talking about this fight. Maybe the Salakov fight could be something to look at, but I don't really see a finish in the first round here. BP says, Weezy's dog growled when I said Trinado is live. A dog knows when underdog is live. Hey.
Yeah, man. Dude, Bootsy's listening to this. He's a Rottweiler. He's strong. He's tough. You know, he knows his fights too. So, you know, BP might be right about that one.
Your dog's a big UFC fan too, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I like it. Combat Sports Geek. Low Wrecking Ball Latifi pushing Tanner back. Man, I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. He gets knocked out round 3 from gassing or he wins the decision. Hey, yeah, I could see either one happening.
I agree with him there for sure.
All right, so we do have about 60 people in the chat. If you all can hit that like button, it would really help us out at Pub Sports Radio. Help me out. Help Uncle Weezy out. All the good stuff. Talking some DraftKings, talking some betting as well. Lots of good info so far. We're about halfway through the card here, and we'll continue. I did skip a few fights, but I think we're back in order now, and we're going to get to a fight that is, another fight that I think, man, I do not want to see this fight. I hate this fight. I don't like it. 2 guys that have screwed me in the past, bad. 2 guys that, you know, are untrustworthy. 2 guys that
got to be talking about Breese Arroyo.
Of course, I'm talking about that fight, Uncle Weezy. Just 2 guys that have pissed me off more than once, and we got to talk about it. Tom Breese, 9,200 going against Arroyo, 7,000. I don't know. I mean, I think Tom Breese is the much better fighter. It's just you can't trust this guy with your money. I mean, he can be the better fighter in the fight. It's just he has these mental lapses where he just, I don't know, I don't want to say he gives up, but there's been points where you think, man, it looks like Tom Breese just gave up, you know? But he is a black belt in BJJ. I think that he could come out here, take this fight down to the mat if he wants to. But the thing I don't like is Breese has 0 takedowns in the UFC. Yep. I believe he's 0 for 7, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And he's got to go for takedowns here. Go for takedowns. They're there. I'm sure you'll talk about it, but Arroyo has, you know, some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see. Give me Breese. I don't love it. I'm definitely not playing him at this price tag. I see a lot of people taking the shot on Arroyo, which, I mean, maybe. It's just he's so bad. He's so bad. Breese is the better fighter. I'll take Breese to potentially get the takedowns. Maybe a finish. We've been seeing a lot of the Breese fights ending inside the distance as of late. I don't think he's been 2 decisions since like 2016, something like that. So I was kind of looking at like an under 2.5 or like a fight doesn't get to decision. I'll pull it up what that is here, but I think there's a solid potential. I mean, Arroyo's a big gasser. I could see Breese finishing him. And on the flip side, Breese has pulled more stunts than one in the past couple of years. I could see Arroyo maybe finishing him. So under 2.5, minus 145. I honestly don't hate that. Fight doesn't get to decision, minus 170. I really don't hate that. So Uncle Weezy, how are you feeling about this fight?
Man, if you're considering gambling on this fight, you might have a problem. You know, it might be time to call 1-800-GAMBLER or something like that, because either, you know, but maybe you want to bet on this fight because you're new to mixed martial arts and you've never been fucked by a fighter with shitty IQ before, or a guy that just flat out decides on fight day that he's not going to fight, you know, because of anxiety. I can't trust either of these guys. I wouldn't bet a penny of my money on either of these guys, especially when they're fighting each other. Yeah, Breese is the better fighter, but I mean, God, man, this is so bad. And this is on the main card?
Is it? I hope not.
I don't know, man.
Oh,
I don't know.
I think it is.
This is just one of those ones. I'm staying away from it. And, you know, I mean, if we look at the numbers here, Breese actually has got some power in his hands. He's got a 2.13% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. That's really good power. You know, but like you said, he's never gotten a takedown in the UFC, which is really odd. Yeah. You know, and he's been taken down, but yeah, 32% takedown defense for Arroyo, 17 out of 25. You know, he's only defended 8 out of 25. He's been taken down 4.76 times per 15 minutes. That's pathetic. You know, God, man, you know, this is a great card, but I don't know about this fight, Brady. You know,
it's this fight, and it's the Levitt Poilos fight that I'm like, man, take it off the card. I want to see this stuff.
I know, man, I know, and you know, maybe they can cut both of these guys after this one. I don't know, man, but shout out to all the guys that had money on Arroyo over that bum wrestler. What's his name?
Ron Wynn.
Oh God, do you remember watching that fight?
I do. Sadly, I do.
Taken down over and over again. He didn't get up once. It was just awful. And I think that Breese could do that to him. I mean, he might be, you know, 0 of 7 on takedowns, but man, if there's one human being you could take down in the UFC, it's Arroyo. So I'll pick Breese here, but I wouldn't put money on it. And I can't see taking either side in DraftKings either, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, I feel it. I mean, maybe I'll have a little bit of Breeze. I'm not going to really touch Arroyo, but yeah, definitely a shit show. Yeah. I can't trust Tom Breeze. Hey, nobody can. Antonio's terrible fight IQ and gas tank versus Breeze mental instability at times scares me. Yeah, exactly that. I can't bet this fight, and I'm a degenerate. Maybe the under, but hard pass. Yeah, I was thinking maybe the under, but I honestly don't want to get involved with this mess. I wish I knew Arroyo had a bad takedown D when he fought Win. Yeah, I didn't think it was. I knew it was not great, but I didn't know it was like the worst I've ever seen in my life, you know. For the next fight, not sure if some of you saw it in an interview, but G. Rodrigues versus Duško said he has no camp. Okay, interesting. Another fight I'm not excited for. Okay, interesting. Well, kind of figured that he came in on short notice, so if you think about betting this fight, you might have a problem, Uncle Weezy. Yeah, for sure. Don't judge too much off of past fights. The past is the past. That is true. WRX is saying Breeze's mental state is way better. I mean, we don't really know that. I mean, he didn't look great in his last fight, so we'll have to see. Hopefully it is. I meant G. Rodrigues said in an interview he has no camp. Yeah, I got what you meant. We'll talk about that soon here as well. All right, so we'll get into that right here. So getting into that, Duško Todorović going against Gregory Rodrigues. And we have Duško, who is 8,600, and RoboCop is 7,600. I'll say this. This is a fight that you probably won in your DraftKings lineups, one side or another. Whatever side you're on, I do think that there's going to be a finish, and I do think it's going to be an early finish as well. Both guys have a ton of power. Both guys have pretty poor striking defense, and both guys can be knocked out. So what it sounds like to me is somebody's probably getting knocked out, and somebody's probably getting knocked out in the first round. So this is going to be a fight I'm really high exposed to. From both sides, I like the 7,600 for RoboCop there, but I won't ignore the the Duško side as well. I think this fight scores well for the winner one way or another, and I do think there's a finish. A line I was kind of looking at, and we talked about it earlier in the week, or maybe last week it was, Uncle Weezy, where we talked about potentially looking at the under 1.5, maybe the under 2.5 as well, and they have the under 1.5 set at plus 100 for the under, which I honestly don't hate that. The under 2.5, which probably hits for sure, but it's really chalky, minus 205 as well. So that might be something to look at. I'm tempted on the under 1.5, especially hearing that RoboCop did not have a camp coming in like this. I do think the under probably does hit. So Uncle Weezy, what are you feeling about this fight?
Yeah, ignore this fight on DraftKings at your own peril. This one has violence written all over it. Both these guys are great. They're fun to watch. Rodrigues he's been grappling since he was a child. He's definitely a very well credentialed grappler. Yes. Todorović is good everywhere. Great striking, great grappling. These guys both have power. They're both really good grapplers, and they both, I've seen Rodrigues and Todorović show great conditioning too. So somebody's probably getting finished here. But I'm leaning to Todorović because Rodrigues, first of all, is taking this fight on short notice.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, he just fought in LFA a week or two ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, yep.
Yeah. He knocked out Josh Fremd, looked really good. But the one chance that he had when he was on the Contender Series a while back, he got knocked out by Jordan Williams, who's got a lot of power in his hands. And Todorović is bigger than Williams, because we know that Williams is a diabetic, so he doesn't cut weight to make middleweight. So he'll often weigh in around 181 or something like that. He was the much smaller man against Rodrigues, still knocked him out. But Rodrigues has got a ton of power in his hands. He's a real slick grappler, and we could say the same thing for Todorović. Somebody's getting finished here, but I would have more Todorović than Rodrigues, simply because no camp for Rodrigues, short notice turnaround. And, you know, the short notice thing, it does make a difference. You know, you don't really get a time to have a camp. You don't really have a time to work on a game plan and work on executing the things that you want to do in your game plan. So I think Todorović could be a sneaky guy to over-own and find yourself in really good shape at the end of the night.
Yep, definitely. I mean, I'm going to be, you know, overexposed to this fight in general, but I'm with you. I like both sides. Personally, don't know what I'm going to do with my exposure as of yet, but I do know one thing. I'll have a ton of exposure on it. A potential bet might be that under 1.5. I'm really looking at it. Plus 100, I'm really, really, really tempted, but we'll have to see there. But we'll get into the next fight here, which is going to be a really interesting fight, a very, very interesting fight. Miguel Baeza going against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Baeza 8,300, Ponzi is 7,900. This is a fight for me I talked about on my breakdown earlier. It's just it's a tough fight to call. Like, are we going to get the Ponzi of 2018, the Ponzi of a couple of years ago? Are we going to get that Ponzi? If we do, hey, yeah, he probably does beat Miguel Baeza. But are we going to get the Ponzi that we saw in his last fight against Dolidze, who looked hesitant, who looked a little slower, lost that speed a little bit, who just did not look the same? Are we going to get that Ponzi? And I was thinking, like, did the layoff really do something to him? I know he had a lot of problems, during that layoff as well. Lots of serious stuff happened in his life. So I just don't know if we're going to get the same Ponzi. And I hate to write off somebody for one bad performance, but it's just how bad he looked. And, you have Baeza, who, he's on his way up. He's 28 years old. He's in his prime. He's getting better and better each time we see him, undefeated. I'm going to side with Baeza. I don't know. I mean, I think this line, it feels like it's too good to be true. It really does. It feels like it's too good to be true, and more money is coming in on Ponzinibbio. You can now get Baeza at -113, -125, and the line's coming down. The line's coming down. So I don't know if the line's going to flip. I don't know if it's going to be a pick 'em by fight time, but it looks like it's heading that way. But I will take Baeza. As far as DraftKings 8,300, I'll take Baeza. I think there's a good chance he does get a knockout as well. It's just I don't know what Ponzi is going to show up.
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. I wouldn't bet this fight simply because I think we're missing a whole lot of information here. I think the problem is that we don't know which Ponzinibbio is going to show up. And then also you have to be realistic and realize that Baeza, this is a step up in competition for him if he is getting the old Ponzi. So, Baeza's striking is really good, man. It's really dynamic. The guy's fight, the future is absolutely bright. I'm a big fan of his. He's explosive, ton of power. His power numbers, almost 3% of the significant strikes that he's landed have resulted in a knockdown. For a welterweight, that's ridiculous. That's really good. So I'm really leaning Baeza here, but the information that I'm missing is how much of a step up in competition is this for Baeza at this point in his career, and whether or not it even is a step up, because I just didn't like the way Ponzinibbio looked. So I don't know how Baeza is going to handle the step up in competition, and I don't know if Ponzinibbio is done. So I can't, in good conscience, bet the fight. However, those unknowns wouldn't push me away from having owned both sides in DraftKings, because these guys are scorers. You got two guys that got serious power in their hands. Ponzinibbio's knockdown rate, 1.84%. Baeza's 2.89. Ponzinibbio's done a lot of grappling. He's got great volume, 10.51 significant strikes attempted. His opponents have attempted 11.35 against him. So he's been in high-volume fights, a lot of power. Could be a chance that Baeza finishes him early if we don't get the old Ponzinibbio. And if Ponzinibbio really is back, then he might knock out Baeza, because Baeza hasn't seen somebody of Ponzinibbio's caliber. But I'm going to own both sides in DraftKings. I'm going to try to probably be at least owned with the field, maybe a little bit overexposed to both of them. But I'm not betting this one for sure.
Yep, 100% agree. All great points. I mean, people in the chat are bringing up some good points as well. Let's see what we got here. I hate saying this, but I actually like this fight match. I like both sides. So, yeah, Uncle Weezy's kind of talking about playing both sides, and I definitely agree there. Thinking betting Baeza pre-fight and Ponz, and if Ponz comes out throwing actively and seems like he's back, I'd hedge live. I do agree that's not bad a look there, but I'd rather bet on Baeza with my money than hoping Ponz is the killer that he used to be. Exactly. Leach versus Baeza, who will win? I don't know. Because Uncle Weezer brought up a good point. The level of competition, we don't know. I mean, he's fought, guys like Matt Brown, guys like that, Hector Aldana. So we don't know how good actually his Baeza. Like, this is going to be his toughest test. So I don't know. I like this fight not to go the distance, which, yeah, I agree. Baeza got hit with a lot of Matt Brown, and he is slow. Yep. Matt Brown hurt him as well. Either Ponzinibbio can touch him a lot, or he is half the man he used to be and can get finished. So I will bring up, what is the fight doesn't go to decision for that? That is interesting. That is, okay, fight doesn't go to decision. That's a little bit too much for me. Minus 200, minus 175. That's a little bit too much for me. But I think there is a decent chance that it could finish, but don't want to lay that. What's up, Jeannie? How you doing? What did do, my brothers? Defense by the numbers. What's up, Jeannie? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, if I bet Baeza, I'll be waiting until after the weigh-ins. Not a bad idea. Can you say shout out to Alexei Oleinik, Uncle Weezy?
Oh, hell yeah. Shout out Alexei Oleinik, man. That guy, he's got more fights than most people have had hot meals in their lives. He's a stud. How many career submissions for Oleinik? Something in like the 40s or something? Like, he's awesome. I'm a big fan. Shout out to MMA Genie, man. I love Alexei Oleinik.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of the guy as well. But yeah, we'll get into the next fight here. And this is a fight that I think you have a bet on, and we'll talk about it. But Roman Dolidze going against Laureano Staropoli. We have Dolidze, who is 8,400, and Staropoli at 7,800. This is a matchup where, I mean, it's written on the wall. I'm sure you'll get into everything and all that about the, about the size. The size is what does it for me here. So you have Staropoli coming up a weight class, and then you have Dolidze, who, fought at 205 his whole career. He came down to 185 his last fight, but yeah, he's back at 185 here. So Dolidze is going to be the much, much, much bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. He's going to have a 5.5-inch reach advantage as well, which I think is pretty huge. And I don't know, I think he's has a good stylistic matchup here in front of him. You have Laureano Staropoli, who his takedown defense isn't great. I'll pull up the exact percentage, but I think it's like 57.
That's right.
57% takedown defense. And the thing with Dolidze is, and this is why I see a lot of people on Staropoli more than likely, they want to fade Dolidze. They think, hey, this guy has, terrible fight IQ, and he 100% does. He 100% has terrible fight IQ, but stylistically, with everything, said, I think this is a very, very, very winnable matchup. And I think that if Dolidze has not shown that terrible fight IQ in the past, honestly, I think it'd be like minus 250 here. But it's just, him making those mistakes in the past, him yelling at his coach, "Coach, do you want me to submit him?" and going for heel hooks, going for, all this stuff that's very unnecessary. I think that's kind of what is making people, bet on the Staropoli side. But in reality, like, this seems like a horrible matchup for him. But I'll take Dolidze. As far as the DraftKings goes, I have a lot of interest in him as well, 8,400. I think there's a good chance that he gets his fight down to the mat, and I think there's a good chance he gets the finish as well, to be honest. So, Uncle Weezy, how you feeling about this one?
I've got a bet on Dolidze. I was in your Discord chat room talking with some of the guys in there. We were talking about this fight late last week, and I think it was late at night. And I kind of was talking a lot about Dolidze, and then I woke up in the morning and realized I made a 1.5 unit bet on him, and I realized I got to stop drinking late at night. They talked me into it. Okay, so Staropoli, he's a good striker, but you brought up a lot of good points. I mean, he's a natural 170er. He's taken this fight on short notice, moving up to 185 to fight Dolidze, who is a natural 205er and is now cutting down from 205 to 185. So Dolidze obviously is a very credentialed grappler, and he's got a huge advantage when this fight goes to the ground. Will he get it there? Sometimes these tall guys are hard to take down. And Staropoli, 57% takedown defense, not great, but he also has only been controlled 13% of his UFC career. So when he is getting taken down, he's actually getting right back up. So Dolidze is going to have to really commit to the grappling in order to win this fight. And, I was just thinking about it earlier today. Like, you ask your coach, should I submit this guy? It's like, yeah, you should fucking submit him. It's a fight. Right? I mean, do you want to win? Knock him out, submit him, but don't ask me, go out there and just do it. And so I'm hoping he does it, but we don't know. We've talked about the fight IQ, and I got to question my own gambling IQ making bets at 1:30 in the morning drunk, but I still think Dolidze gets the job done here. He's better than Staropoli, but he's just got to make the right decisions here and really kind of play the fight to his strengths. And if he does that, it should be easy, but it might not be easy because Dolidze doesn't make great decisions.
I agree. Like, it's one of those things where, like, hey, he should definitely win, but it's just hard to trust him. I think in hindsight, like, he could potentially look like he should have been a minus 250, minus 300. It's just those question marks with the, with the IQ. But hopefully, man, coming off a loss, hopefully he takes it serious. Hopefully he doesn't ask his coaches questions during the thing, and hopefully he gets it done. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not going to, as of now, not going to, place a bet on him. Might look at a prop here or there, maybe a submission prop or something, but I will be having quite a bit of exposure to Dolidze on DraftKings. I think 8,400 is a steal, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Dolidze should win this fight. Inside the distance, probably. I agree. Dolidze should ragdoll Staropoli. I just hope he doesn't gas and give the fight away, though. Yeah, that's something that you can worry about as well. The gas tank Dolidze has to beat himself, in my opinion. 100% agree. But, yeah. Don't worry, Uncle Weezy. Hello, I was one of those people in the Discord. I'll own up to being a bad influence if Dolidze beats himself again. But yeah, he is kind of dumb, but athletically good. Exactly.
Yeah, shout out Combat Sports Geek. That was the individual I was chatting with about that bet late at night, and we kind of talked each other into it. I woke up with buyer's remorse, but sometimes those tickets cash anyway. So let's hope it cashes. Let's hope that Roman does what he's supposed to do here, grapples, gets his fight to the ground, and takes it where he's better.
Yes, sir. All right, what's up, Connor Mack? How you doing? Thank you for joining. Hopefully you're doing well, man. But we'll get into the co-main event here. Marcin Tybura versus Walt Harris. Tybura, 8,700. Walt Harris is 7,500. And this matchup is, in my opinion, I think it's really tough to call because you have Tybura who, yeah, he's probably the better fighter. Yeah, he probably has, a path to victory of, probably striking, landing more, getting those takedowns. But Walt Harris has that X factor, and that X factor is that power. 100% finish rate for Walt Harris. That means he's never won by decision. He's never won by submission. When Walt Harris is winning fights, he's winning them by knockout. And we kind of talked about it in the Discord. There's a prop on FanDuel Sportsbook that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like plus 600 for a first-round knockout by Harris, right?
I think I got plus 650 last night when I was sober. So, yeah, 650 I think is what I got first-round knockout for Walt Harris.
I mean, that's probably how he wins, right? Like a first round knockout, maybe a second round knockout, which is like plus 1,000. But yeah, those props are, I mean, I'm picking Tybura, but those props are like really, really juicy because that's, kind of how he wins. And I think, would I be shocked if that happened? No, not at all. Tybura has been knocked out 4 times. Tybura is on the chinny side, and Walt Harris, he can crack. So as far as DraftKings goes, I do want to play both sides, but as far as like an underdog, I think Walt Harris 7,500. It's not a bad play at all. I think this fight, it probably should be lying closer, but I just think the more path to victories from Tybura. But when you have that power, sometimes it really doesn't matter. So I'll take Harris, quite a bit as a dog, but I'll have some Tybura as well. And as far as like a bet, I was kind of looking at maybe like the fight doesn't get the decision because usually we see heavyweight fights, the fight doesn't get decisions like juiced to the max. But we take a look here, and it's like fight doesn't get the decisions like minus 150, minus 160, not horrible. But even like that Harris first round knockout is really, really tempting. I just think that line's off. So what do you think about this fight, Uncle Weezy?
Yeah, I did a video about this fight on my channel. I went balls deep on this one. I think I talked about it for like 18 minutes. But there's really there's some really interesting statistics having to do with this fight. One of them that I pointed out in the video is that let's see, Walt Harris, 15 UFC fights. He's never won a fight where he's been taken down once. So every single fight where Walt Harris has been taken down, he's lost. And we got Marcin Tybura, his averaging 1.62 takedowns per 15 minutes. And it's very clear that's his path to victory. Tybura is going to use his grappling if he wants to win this fight. He's not going to win a striking match with Walt Harris. Walt Harris, a 3.06% knockdowns per significant strikes landed ratio. That is third highest in the heavyweight division. Only Francis Ngannou and Chris Daukaus have higher knockdown rates than Walt Harris. So in a division that's known for its power, Walt Harris's power is elite. He's got more power than Derek Lewis. He's got more power than some of these guys that you would consider to be the power punchers. When you look at the numbers, Harris is right there with those guys. So you see this fight going one of two ways. Either Tybura doesn't get it to the ground and Harris knocks him out in the first or second round. Incidentally, Walt Harris in his career, 100% of his wins by knockout, all of them have come in the first or second round. Okay. Nice. So, you know, this is one of those fights where the statistics really did tell a tale of how both fighters can win the fight, of what both fighters' weaknesses are. But Harris has got elite power, but he's also only been controlled 12% of his UFC career, 72% takedown defense for Walt Harris. In terms of the level of competition that they've faced, Tybura's level of competition has been higher. But, you know, I think it's just a super interesting stat that Walt Harris has never won a fight where he's been taken down. And he's never been taken down more than once in a fight. So I'm picking Tybura. If I were to bet it, I would probably go like two units on Tybura, and then I would hedge with those first and second round knockout props for Harris. And I think if you did that, you could find a nice little hedge and make a little bit of money on this fight. But you kind of want to bet both sides on DraftKings, because if Tybura wins, he can win it via ground and pound knockout. He can win it via decision. He can win it via submission. There's a lot of paths to victory for Tybura. When you talk about the path to victory for Harris, you're more or less looking at a first or second round knockout. But I'm going to lean Tybura here. I'm going to definitely have both sides in DraftKings, though. And I just think it's a very interesting stat that he's never won a fight when he's been taken down. So, yeah, Marcin Tybura, decision is what I'm picking.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Uncle Weezy, because I would not have known that if you didn't say anything. But, yeah, that's a very, very interesting stat. And especially, you know, compared to, you know, comparing this to this matchup, because there's a good chance he does get taken down. Let's see what happens in the chat here. I feel like Tybura by sub could be sneaky at plus 900. I like Muniz and at plus 800 against Jacare, but I like Tybura to win regardless of the method. Yeah, sub could happen. Uncle Weezy and me were talking about it earlier in the week. Tybura has 0 subs in the UFC. Yeah. He doesn't have them on the regional scene. He has finished like 33% of his wins by submission. Walt Harris has been submitted once before. It could happen. Plus 900, it's kind of tempting a little bit, but see what we got here. Clint is on Harris. Interesting pick. Maybe I'll go with Harris. A bit on DK. Yeah, Clint is on Harris. If you're on Harris, you probably just bet him by knockout, though. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if you won a decision.
Definitely the first time it ever happened. So yeah, he did have one decision win over Arlovsky, but then it got taken back because he tested positive.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's Arlovsky.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different heavyweight, you know.
Yeah, definitely got to mix in Walt on DK. I agree. I think he's a really good underdog. Harris has never won by decision, only KOs. That is right. Dave did mention that as well. Walt went to distance with the Arlovsky, switched to no contest. That is true. What's up, Mills, in the chat? How you doing, Millie Mills? Mills says, who you got, Baeza or Pons? I'm late. I'm going Baeza. I don't feel good about it. I think, Weezy, you're going with Baeza as well?
Yeah, I'm going Baeza too.
Yeah, we're going Baeza. Mills got Tybura minus 150. Yeah, not a bad line there. I think it's like minus 170, minus 165 now. So there you go.
He beat the line. He definitely beat line moving on that one. That's a great line on him.
Yeah, I agree. I like that line. Bro, if I get that same feeling I got when Francis stuffed Stipe's takedown attempt from this bout, I'm going to flip. I can see Harris doing the Francis stuffing takedown, and we all know what happens from here. Hey, yeah, it can happen, man. It can happen. Sakai, easiest bet on the card. We'll talk about that. Surprised for the main event, you have Sakai. Yes, I do. We'll talk about that as well. Yeah, Sakai's going to roll. Everyone hates Sakai. Yeah, I don't know why everybody hates him. Maybe it was the Overeem performance. Maybe they didn't like him there. MMA Genie, DFS Weezy, good hedge bet. Tybura, TK around 2, and Harris, TK around 1. Prop bets. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Lock of the year bet is Tyson Fury knocks out Wilder. Maybe. All right. So, main event time. Before we do, if you guys can please hit the like button. Let's get those likes up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to Pub Sports Radio as well. You know, the likes do help out quite a bit. As I always say, it really does help out with the channel and helps us all out. So, we'll get into the main event here. Kind of excited for it. I mean, to be honest, like, I don't really care for this main event. I do have a bet on this fight, and I'll talk about it a little bit. For me, like, I just don't understand, you know, the line of this fight. You have Sakai, he was 8,000. Rozenstruik is 8,200. And I'm sure, you know, I'll let Uncle Weezy talk about all the statistical advantages for Sakai, because you take a look at every single statistical advantage outside of, you know, the power, which I'll talk about as well. You know, it goes to Sakai, you know, the volume, the striking defense, you know, potentially could see some takedowns in this fight as well from Sakai. So I like Sakai. As far as DraftKings, it gets tricky because I could see a fight where, you know, there's not much going on, you know, a couple of strikes thrown here and there. It gets later into the fight, nothing happens. I can see something like that. And if you're going to get like a ton of ownership on this fight, I just don't see a reason to be playing much of it. But with that said, they're heavyweights. They're heavyweights. There could be a first-round knockout. There could be a second-round knockout. And that's what makes it so tough, because I can see it going one of two ways. Somebody gets clipped early, or this fight gets extended, it gets ugly, it gets sweaty, and nothing happens. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, Uncle Weezy. I'll talk about my bet I have in a little bit, but who are you liking here?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning Sakai, but, you know, as the week moves on, I'm kind of getting back closer to 50-50 on this one. You know, we've got Rozenstruik, who's got a ton of power. Sakai moves more. He's a little bit more technical. You know, and one of the technical things that I wanted to bring up before we get into the numbers here is if we look at how Rozenstruik started out in the UFC, Crowder was his first fight. He knocked him out with a jab with his left hand. He put him on his ass, and then he finished him on the ground with his dominant hand. The next fight, he knocked out Arlovski, who came charging in, and he knocked him out with a check left hook, right? So the first two knockouts that he had, it came with his lead hand, his left hand. Now, he's an orthodox fighter, but he's strange in the fact that his non-dominant hand seems to be what sets up his knockouts. Now we go to the Overeem fight, the Rozenstruik Overeem fight. Overeem is a orthodox fighter, but if you go back and you watch that fight, he fought that fight all 25 minutes from the southpaw stance. And we talked about this earlier with Fierro and Moroz. When you got a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter, that orthodox fighter and the southpaw fighter are not going to be able to use their jab much. And one of the things that's worrying me here is that Sakai is an orthodox fighter, and he's going to come out orthodox, and Rozenstruik's lead hand is going to be able to cause some damage if he's not moving his head, if he's not on his bike, if he's not moving a lot. Rozenstruik 2.43% strikes, knockdowns per significant strikes landed for 1.14 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Obviously, Rozenstruik has the power advantage, but we look at Sakai being faster. He throws more volume. He moves better, and he's more accurate. And he's also 48% striking defense, while Rozenstruik's striking defense 39.2% for worst in the heavyweight division. So there's a lot of statistical reasons here to like Sakai, but then there's always that looming power that we have in these heavyweight fights, just like in the last one. You know, maybe Tybura gets it to the ground a couple times, and then maybe Harris gets up and then just lands that one shot. So this is the thing we always have to worry about with these heavyweight fights is when somebody's got that power, we just don't know how it's going to turn out. If Sakai stays on his bike, if he throws more volume, if he touches him up and stays outside and keeps his hands up and stays defensively strong, maybe fights out of the southpaw stance for a little while to kind of nullify that jab from Rozenstruik, I like him to win it, but I don't think I'm going to make a bet either way here. I do kind of like the over. We talked about that earlier in the week, Brady, but this is going to be a close fight. I just think that Sakai is a little bit more well-rounded, but I give the power edge to Rozenstruik and the strength of schedule edge to Rozenstruik. So it's tough to call. I'm going to definitely have both sides on DraftKings because it's a 5-round fight. The potential of it finishing inside the distance, I think, is good because, you know, it's heavyweights, it's 5 rounds, and neither one of these guys runs a lot. So somebody will probably get finished, but it probably won't be until late.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
I see PayPal in the chat seeing anyone ever see Sakai knocked down? No, he's never been knocked down in the UFC.
He has a chin on him. He has a big head.
He's got a huge head, man, like an Easter Island statue on him. But yeah, he's tough. The only guy to finish him was Overeem, and he did it on the ground. And we know Rozenstruik's not taking this fight to the ground. So
yeah, man, Sakai was exhausted too. So
yeah.
But yeah, 100% agree with you. You know, the plus money on Sakai is tempting, especially because we both agree that this fight, you know, is very close. You have Sakai with all the statistical advantages, but you know, you have Rozenstruik with that power, insane power. But what's doing it for me is going to be the durability of Sakai. Hopefully that holds up. But yeah, I'm not betting either side here. I really do like that over 1.5, but you know, my goodness, did it get smashed, man?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. I got it at -145. Shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook. My goodness, -200, -215. So I think, you know, people are definitely on that. I was honestly looking, you know, at the over 2.5 as well. You know, maybe even fight goes to decision, which, you know, that's been getting hammered as well. It opened up +250. So people are kind of thinking, hey, this fight might go the distance. And I'm kind of with there. I think there could be a finish late, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went the distance. But yeah, the over 1.5 is something I really do like. I'm usually not into betting the overs, but at -145 in a fight like this, I could see it getting extended. So we'll hit up the chat real quick and then head out of here. Let's see here. Yeah, PayPal does not like Sakai because of him grabbing the cage, but yes, he has done that quite a bit. And Sakai complaining about the stoppage was annoying. Agreed. One dog and one fave in the co-main event will win. Yeah, I could 100% see that for sure. So what we got here. You brought that up. Anyone see Sakai knocked down? Nope. The guy has a chin. Genie saying Sakai decision. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning decision, maybe a late finish. I'm slightly Sakai now. I'm leaning Sakai now. PFL lines are out. Looks like some good bets. I'll have to check that out. You beat me, or you bet me to round 2 start on this fight, but I'm on it. So yeah, Mills has the fight starts round 2, which I'm not sure what that is. Fight starts round 2 is -300. Big price tag, but yeah, I think good chance of it hitting there. So I'll kind of, you know, close with this. I'll ask you any questions, some questions here at Weezy. So out of the 9K range, I'm curious to hear what you say about this. In the 9K range, who is going to be your favorite fighter to target here?
So I'm all over Jones and De La Rosa in the 9K range, and I'm definitely staying away from Salikov. I don't have, or no, wait, I do. I've got it right here. Let me look at the DraftKings tab, and yeah, Amir Khani at 9,400. I'll have some of him. Salikov at 9,100. I might have 0. Yeah. Definitely, I'm going to be overexposed to De La Rosa. I think there's a lot of grappling upside there. Let's see. Yeah, you know, who's 9,000? Yeah, Breese. I'm not touching Breese. Obviously, I'm not touching Salikov, but I like Amir Khani. I like De La Rosa, and I like Mason Jones. And then I keep forgetting who is exactly 9,000. I'm missing something here.
Levitt, Jordan Levitt.
Oh yeah, and I'll have something there too because you know we just don't know that Levitt Puelis fight. There's just not enough information for me to really lean one side more. You know, there's just too many unknowns. But I could see that fight finishing for sure. Those guys are high volume and they're great grapplers. So
yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's probably my favorite's probably De La Rosa, but you know Jones is definitely up there for me as well. If you had to pick a couple dogs that you're really interested in, for me, I'll kind of go first here. For me, I'm liking Zalal a little bit, but I'm mostly going to be having some RoboCop 7,600. I think there's a potential finish there. I think a little bit of Ponzinibbio. I think Walt Harris is a very intriguing dog as well. So I'm kind of looking at those 4, maybe a little bit of Latifi as well.
Yeah, man, definitely Latifi for me because there's some wrestling upside there. I'm not touching Arroyo. Gregory Rodrigues, I'm going to have a ton of him for sure. I'll have some Pons. I'll even have some Staropoli just in case Dolidze pulls a stunt, and we know that he can. For sure, Walt Harris. Walt Harris has got a lot of knockout upside. I'll probably try to be just about exposed with the field on him. And I've got a bet on Yusuf Zalal. So, I mean, I'll definitely have him as an underdog at 7,400. I'll fit a decent amount of him into my lineups for sure.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Hey, Jeannie, I got to put you in timeout, buddy. Hey, Jeannie, if you want to make Weezy a profile picture on YouTube, just you can give it to me on Twitter. I'll give it to Uncle Weezy. But yeah, speaking of Uncle Weezy, you can find him on YouTube at Uncle Weezy. He does, breakdowns just like this. He goes really into depth. I believe he did a Rozenstruik Sakai. He did a Tybura Harris, and he did a Manon Fioro Moroz fight as well. So yeah, lots of good stuff over on Uncle Weezy. He's very knowledgeable, as you guys can tell. Lots of great stuff. Really gets into the stats. It's something that nobody's really doing. So go check him out. Go subscribe to him. He kind of just started up the YouTube game. He got a nice camera, got all that good stuff, and glad to have him on here. So Uncle Weezy, if you want to shout anything out, now is the time.
Man, just check me out on my YouTube channel. I want to shout you out. I want to shout out your Discord, the whole community that you have. I've really enjoyed interacting with all of them over the last year or so. Your Patreon's incredible. For $10 a month, what you get out of that is just fantastic. You get all the stuff that Brady does, and then you'll get my stat model, the DraftKings tab, the FanDuel tab, the advanced stats, the matchups. You know, I'm just looking to MMA gambling's hard, man. You know, you want to have the most information that you could possibly have. And I try to provide that so that you can go a little bit deeper. Let's start taking some money from these bookies, man. Let's make some money. Let's cash some tickets. And I'm fired up to make some money with you guys. Thanks so much for having me on, man. This was a real treat for me.
No problem. I mean, I've been wanting to get you on for a while now, but yeah, I mean, you guys can take a look. I mean, Weezy puts in all the work, and like that's just not even half of it, man. But yeah, shout out to you, Weezy. You do put in a lot of work, and I do think the results will come. If you put in the work, I think the results will come. Yeah,
that's absolutely. It's with anything with life, you know. If you work hard at it, man, the good things will happen. So I'm hoping that continues to happen. Check me out on YouTube. I'll be doing all kinds of videos for you guys. If you have fights that you want to gamble on and you want a really good in-depth analysis, check me out on my YouTube, man.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, guys, about to head out. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. An hour and 20 for 14 fights is not bad at all. So once again, thank you everybody in the chat for hanging out. We had a pretty solid audience for the night. If you guys can hit the like button on your way out, would really appreciate that. You can find me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, YouTube DFS by the numbers. I just posted my full card breakdown and prediction video. I'm going to try to get my DraftKings video out early tomorrow and then live stream on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on my channel, live stream on Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. And then you can catch us here on Pub Sports Radio doing a lot of content throughout the week and then going to be going live for the fights on Saturday as well. So lots going on. And I'm also looking to, continue to add content onto my own channel and then hopefully some new stuff on Pub Sports as well. And yeah, once again, thank you all for hanging out and good luck for UFC Vegas 28. Let's make some money.